Welcome back. The president set to hold a town hall on immigration this Wednesday in Miami. His executive order is the sticking point that's locked Congress in a budget standoff over DHS funding, the Department of Homeland Security. It is due to run out this Friday. All this happening as the National Governors Association is holding its winter meeting in Washington this weekend. Funding surely a hot topic, especially among governors from border states. Gary Herbert is the governor of Utah and the vice chairman of the National Governors Association. And Governor, it is good to have you on the program. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good morning. We certainly enjoyed having you at our meetings yesterday.
Thank you so much, Governor. I enjoyed it as well. And one thing that I came away from the meeting with was the idea that a number of governors, I felt that it was virtually unanimous, are feeling that the federal government is using a brushstroke attitude on a number of issues, whereas the state's managers, the governor of that state, likely has a much better or clearer idea of what is needed to be done when it comes to immigration, when it comes to education, health care, etc. Is that where you are on this topic?
Well, I think on many topics, the concern that we have in Utah and other states is the federal overreach, really getting into the domain of Utah and state responsibility. So we'd like to push back on that a bit and have them take care of things that really are of national consequence. Immigration is one that we've tried to address on a state basis. We're taken to court by the Obama administration. We're told loud and clear this is a federal issue.
It's a federal issue, but I want to really talk about what's happening in terms of the DHS funding, because here we have real implications of the funding of Homeland Security being threatened because of the president's executive action. How do you think this plays out?
Well, it's emotional on both sides, and of course nobody wants Homeland Security shut down. It's a dangerous world we live in right now. Probably of any time we shouldn't have any kind of negative impact on our Homeland Security. Congress is concerned about a president who's going around them and using executive privilege in probably ways that are not constitutional. That's the debate. Again, we were challenged in court by the administration saying just because you're frustrated with Congress doesn't mean you can go around them. I hear the president talking about his frustration because of a lack of an immigration law, but now he's trying to go around them. Again, I don't think that's right either. We need to have the Congress step up and really solve the problem and address immigration. And I know there's many steps to the problem, at least to the solution of the problem, but we could all at least agree to secure the borders and build a tall fence. But then let's work on a better gate, a wider gate. We ought to make sure that we have opportunity to resolve this problem and put the onus on Congress, which should solve the problem. Explain
the kind of strain that these unilateral actions will put on, for example, local budgets, local governments. At the end of the day, the states will pay for whatever actions come out of Washington.
Well, for some reason we think that there's a money machine in Washington, D.C., and there certainly is a printing press. But the taxes that they generate all come from the states, from the local communities. It's from the men and women in our local states that send money to Washington, D.C., sometimes for good and noble purposes, but sometimes for, just an overreach where they're trying to make us partner and mandate to us how to do things, whether it be education, whether it be how we build our roads, our transportation, how we do our health and human services. And frankly, that string that comes attached with our money back to the states gets in the way of effectiveness and efficiency. Better not to take the money from us in the first place, but if you do take it, just grant it back without the strings.
And you've written a letter to John Boehner, Mitch McConnell, to try to get them to help balance the powers between the federal government and the states.
That's exactly right. The concept of federalism, which is really a shared responsibility where we are partners, unfortunately we've become the junior partner in this situation. And as we know from our founding of our country, the intent was to have a stronger centralized government, but it was not going to overshadow the states. And as I look at the budgets around the states today, if you combine all 50 states and their budgets, it totals up to be $1.7 trillion. The budget being proposed by the president today is $3.99. It sounds like almost $4 trillion. And you wonder, how do we get this thing upside down? There is too much growth in the federal government, and more responsibility ought to be delegated and left to the states as per our Constitution.
Now, that's an interesting way to put it, adding up the budgets of the states and then looking at the president's budget, sir. Good to have you on the program, Governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Great to be here.
You too.